good. This is Asher with Bozeman RV Adventures. This is your 2021 Jayco Greyhawk Prestige. I'm just going to give you the quick run through of the unit so you know how to work through all the systems. This is the same thing we're going to do in our handoff process. It's just good to have it down in a video. So first thing, keys are right here. Got a key fob that unlocks it. When you're driving this thing, first of all, this is a 32-foot RV, so this is on the bigger ends of what you're going to be driving for Class C's. It drives just like a large pickup in the front. The only thing you got to worry about is the back. There is a lot of vehicle over the rear wheel well. You can kind of see it's about 10 feet over that rear wheel well. So the tail will swing around. That's pretty much what you need to worry about when you're parking or when you're taking tight turns. Just when you're going around a turn, go as wide as you possibly can. And always, you got towing mirrors, which will keep an eye on your blind spots. So always just be keeping an eye on where that tail is. This is like 20,000 miles, so it pretty much drives like new. We're religious in all our maintenance, so all your fluids, your brakes, all the mechanical systems are checked. You've got your AC right here. This guy is a whole touchscreen with Bluetooth, radio, all that stuff. Automatic headlights, so you can just leave those in automatic. And then there is nothing special with driving this. There's no air brakes. There's none of the big truck stuff. The one thing you're going to want to do is pretty much make sure you don't ride the brakes. That is the number one thing where we see renters getting in trouble. They're really robust brakes. They're meant for a 1.25 ton truck. So you're not going to like burn through your pads or anything. But if you're driving this thing like a car and flying down a pass going 70 and you're riding the brakes the whole time, they are going to be boiling hot. And you're gonna see the brakes smoking when you get out of the truck. So what you wanna do, first of all, whenever you're going up or down a grade, follow the truck speed limit signs. Even if you're on an interstate, and even if it's like 35 miles an hour, you've gotta follow this. Also, whenever you do need to brake, these new ones will automatically engine brake for you. But if you do need to get on the brakes going down a pass, do it in bursts. So give it some brake, let off, wait a few seconds, give it some brake. Never just ride brakes at 10%. But that's pretty much all you need to know for driving this thing. Otherwise, just take it slow at first. Even if you haven't driven something as big as this, you're totally fine, don't panic. Most of our renters are first timers for RVs. But yeah, just slow and steady, and obviously don't be checking your phone or anything while you're driving. So that is pretty much it here. We'll go around into the cab now. All your tires, we replace them if they ever get below 50% tread. So your tires are always new, pressures are checked. Coming right over here. We've got a whole power awning, which is really nice. There's a couple things when you're using this though. If the truck is on, as in the engine, this awning is not going to work. That's a safety feature. So you don't drive off and it turns into a sail. So right here, you have got your awning in and out button. And so I'm going to hold out real quick. What it's going to do is it'll lag for a second, and then it'll go all the way out for you. This is gonna run into our van, so I'm gonna stop it here. But pretty much you can put it all the way out until it stops. If there's any wind though, pull it back in, because that is your security deposit gone right away if any of these arms break or the cloth rips off. So just never leave it unattended. Hold in, and that guy will come all the way back in. It's normal for it to be slow, by the way. There's a lot of tension that keeps these arms extended. So we've got it all the way back in, we're good to go. Right here with your lock, your purple key will lock the door right there. This is the engine key. This is the fob to lock and unlock those front doors so you can secure everything at night. And then coming in, get my shoes off real quick. You have, of course, your fire extinguisher right there. Should never need that, but always good to have. This is all of your, you've got your outside speaker system. This has got a lot of fancy stuff, so there's a bunch of extra options. Awning light turns on a whole LED bar across the awning. If you ever hit this, or if a kid presses that, all the power is going to go off in the rear of the coach. So check this out. I press it, all those lights went dead. So if you ever have all your power go off, this is the first thing to check. We press that, all the lights turn back on, all the systems there. This electronic leveling is disabled. We have had 2 renters use that, and both of them broke it and put me out $5,000 each. So not an option. We do include leveling blocks for you, which I will show you how to use. And all of your campsites, if you book in Yellowstone or any of the national parks, are going to be pretty level. This is your solar controller. That's always topping off the batteries. So pretty much you've got your 12 volt system and then your 120 volt system. 120 volt is for the outlets, like a normal wall outlet, like you would see right here. They're kind of hidden up in these, so you can take some looking. That is 120 volt. Microwave is 120 volts. AC is 120 volts. And that is it for this one. So for the 120 volt stuff, you either need the generator running or you need to be plugged into shore power. Everything else on this is run off the batteries. So your lights, your fridge controller, your water pump, the power for this whole control panel is all batteries. So that is pretty much the most important distinction that you need to know of, is the battery system and the 120 volts. We have a whole first time rental guide that we will include with your booking. It's also on the website under the blog section. That will break this down in further detail. Just expect your first night is going to be a little learning curve. After that, it's going to be easy. We give you all the resources you need, so you will be able to figure everything out easily. This one has slide outs. So with these, very important that the RV is first of all level. On this one, this main slide out, the engine needs to be off for this to work. So I'm not going to extend it all the way because we got that, there's something in the way that it would run into, but pretty much what you're going to do, it's level right now, engine's off, we can now extract, and you hold that down until this slide out goes all the way out. And of course, I'm not going to put it all the way out because it's going to hit that, but you can just keep holding that switch until it stops itself. Right after it stops itself, let go. And this gives you tons more space. There's also a slide out in the bedroom, which I will show you how to use. There's a switch here, and then there's also a switch in the bedroom. And then, yeah, if you want to walk down there and show them. If you can hear me, I'm holding the switch out, and that bed will go all the way out, so you have a full master suite back there. Again, hold it until it's stopped itself. The one, yeah, and then the one thing with this is they've got to be all the way back in flush before you drive. Otherwise, that's going to cause some serious damage. So I'm going to hold retract. That's coming all the way back in. I'm continuing to hold until it stops. Okay, now we're pretty much good to drive. Up here, you've got your battery level, which also is shown on your solar controller panel. The general practice there is just make sure it never drops below 12 volts when you're just sitting. If there's load on it at all, like you've got all the lights on, you've got your fans on, you've got your water pump running, the voltage is just going to drop a little bit. But as long as it's not sitting under 12, you're good. If it is sitting under 12, you have a couple options. So you have an onboard generator right here. This is what I said provides 120 volts. So when you're going off grid, you can use this. Hold stop. When that light goes red, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's now primed and ready to go. Do this before you start it every time. Now I hold the start button, that'll fire right up. In about 30 seconds, you're gonna hear that everything beep. That is 120 volt connecting to the microwave, the outlets, and the AC. Make sure there's no big load on it when it starts. Like, make sure your AC is turned off. There's nothing plugged into the outlets that can damage the generator. That beep was our power connecting. And that is also gonna charge up the batteries. So if you have a low battery voltage, that is what you can do in a pinch. If the battery is low enough, that generator is not gonna start though. It's gonna sound super weak. You'll notice all your lights flickering. You may notice a fault in the fridge, a fault in the furnace. What you're gonna wanna do then is just idle the engine, and if it's really dead, drive it. That will charge the batteries back here. So you have many options. There's also a ton of solar on this, so in the day, it's constantly recharging those. You really have to be doing something wrong to drain all the batteries. Like rainy day, not driving, no power connected, not running the generator for multiple days. But I like to go through the worst case scenarios so you know what to do if you do drain it. Right here is your water pump for going off grid. So you'll notice when I turn it on, no water pressure. That is because we're not hooked up to city water, so we're not at a campsite plugged into a hose, and our water pump is off. I turn it on, and we get water pressure. And just general practice, leave this off when driving. If a faucet bumps or something, you could end up having water all over the place. So, always a good idea. Close that off. Okay, this one has a really fancy thing. So this has an instant hot water heater. So pretty much you can't use any propane systems when driving. So this is the last thing. Aside from the 12 volt and the 120 volts, you have your propane system. So propane is for this instant hot water heater, which I'm gonna turn on right now. That is also for your stove, for cooking. You'll notice too that if, I'm gonna show you in a second the propane valve outside. If your propane valve on the outside is closed and it hasn't been opened for a while, there is gonna be a lot of air in the system. So the stove may take a couple tries to start. Same with any of the other propane systems. So the hot water heater, the furnace is also propane, and then this fridge can also run on propane. I know it seems like a lot of information, but when you do this a couple times and go through the setup process, you will get everything done. Okay. So this fridge is also running on propane. So on and off switch right here. When this little green dot is on, your fridge is running. And you'll notice everything comes already pre-cooled. There's a little thermometer right there that shows it's at right around 30 degrees. And then you've got your freezers right up here. You can change the mode. So right now it's on LP, which is liquid propane. You can switch that over to AU, which is your battery. So in a pinch, and also when you're driving, you can leave that on AU. It will also do AC. So AC is when you have, again, the generator running or you're connected to shore power. This is also a pretty smart system, so it'll switch between which system is the best for it. My advice is usually just leave it on LP whenever you're camps, and to keep it cool while driving, switch it over to AU, which is the battery. because you don't want propane stuff on while you're driving the vehicle. Okay, so I'm just gonna switch this back to LP. What else do we got in this? So right here is your whole heating and cooling system. So cooling over here, you can pop it to cool, change the thermostats, and you'll hear this AC go on. Everything's ducted in this RV. Super nice feature, so that'll cool down the whole RV. You can also switch the fan modes, but you'll be able to figure this out. This is all common sense. You can also switch this over to heat. This just runs off propane in the battery. You do not need 120 volts to run the heat. So when you go over here, AC will shut off. You'll turn it up to, whatever temperature you want, and then you'll feel it blowing all through these vents down here. Okay, I'm just going to shut that back off. Even when you shut it off after the heat's been on, it's going to continue blowing for about 3 to 4 minutes just to make sure everything gets vented out. Of course, you've got all your kitchen supplies, everything on the what's included list on the website. Plates, bowls, pots, pans, cups, coffee percolator. You've got tons of storage space in this one. Trash bags, trash can, hot mitts, knives, spatula, ladles, and your lids. Utensils, when we used to include utensils, they would come back half missing. Forks would be bent. It was a total mess. We don't include utensils, but for $5, pick up a pack of the reusable wood ones when you do your stop to get your food when you get here. There's Walmart, there's Rosar's, there's a couple options for grocery stores right by our pickup location. Okay. This one, you've got a full shower right here. This, you may be like, oh, where's the curtain? I'm gonna be exposed showering, but you can close this door right here for some privacy. And there's also this extendable privacy screen. So, and then when this door is open too, you'll have full access to the bathroom. I'll let you get around here. So bathroom on this one is pretty nice. You've got, for all your toiletries right up there, a little bathroom, trash can, and then these tank pods. So before you dump the RV, you can throw one of these pods straight in the toilet and flush it. That will neutralize all the odor in there, and that is always a great thing to do if you're dumping for the first time. I'll show you in a second that process when we go outside. You do have RV grade toilet paper included, a couple extra rolls that we always include. If you use the plush stuff, it is going to clog up your tank, so make sure it's the RV grade. And then I'll steal that from you real quick. Don't worry about the hot water heater, that's all set to be automatic. You've got a couple lights, and then a fan to air everything out. Just make sure these are closed and the fan's off when you're driving. And then back here, when this slide out is out, you have a whole queen master suite pretty much. So TV back here, tons of space for clothes and all that. You have a whole separate AC unit back here. Again, this can only run when 120 volts on. It is right now. So we switch it over, and then it'll be ducted back through here. I'm just gonna turn that back off. Lights, clean bedding included, of course, and that is pretty much it for the back. Yeah. It's out of here. This converts into another bed. So with this one, you tilt this guy up, pull it out, and this will, I'm not going to do it all now, but you'll set it down right under where these cushions are. Those will extend all the way across this, and you'll have pretty much a shorter full-size bed, which is great for kids. This doesn't formally turn into a bed, but these do recline. So in a pinch, or if you have guests, somebody can sleep on the recliner. We also include inflatable camping mats, which you can put down since this has a ton of space in the hallway. Right here, this bunk is super nice. Not many RVs have the whole panoramic roof. This is almost a king size bed. A bunch of kids can fit up here. 2 adults can sleep up here if needed. We'll just include sleeping bags for you for this because it's a weird size where sheets don't fit. But yeah, you can see straight out of the Milky Way when you're sleeping out of there. You've got a TV too, DVD player, and then some lights up here. That is pretty much it for this. These renters opted to purchase bear spray as an add-on. We recommend it. We just charge 20 bucks. It's cheaper than buying your own bottle. And in case you run into a bear, it is good to have. Okay, get my shoes back on. Now we'll quickly go through the outside.
All right.
Okay, so this is the quick outside tour. This one's got a lot of storage space. You can lock all these outdoor cabinets with this silver key. This one has an outside TV, which I don't think anybody's ever used, but if you want to use it, again, you just need 120 volt, so to be plugged in or have the generator running. Got the remote right here. Yeah, let's turn it on. Generator can never be run past 8 p.m. at any campsites, and it can never be left on overnight, even if you're way out in the woods. What happens with that generator is it's running exhaust. If any of your windows are open, if the fan's going, it can suck carbon monoxide into the RV while you're sleeping. And of course, there's a carbon monoxide detector, which will go off at the slightest whiff of it, but that's why we just never risk it, and we never have the generator running overnight. But most campsites will have power, so that you don't need to use the generator. You can be hooked up to their power the whole night, and that will give you all the extra amenities. Also, you never need generator and 120 volts running at the same time. I know that sounds like common sense, but a lot of people, it seems, are fairly clueless when it comes to these RV systems, especially for their first time, which is okay, but that's what the video is for. This right here is your propane. So this, very important. Whenever you're driving, you have to have this completely turned off. So all the way righty-tighty until you feel resistance. That means you're good to drive. Because if you have this on and you get in an accident, that could turn a fairly minor accident into a fireball. So that's why we always have this turned off. Whenever you get to your campsite, this is one of the first things I do, is open this valve all the way, not half a way, not one turn, all the way until you feel resistance, and then back a quarter turn. Any propane tank will leak if you crank it all the way open. That's not a flaw or anything, that's just how these valves are. So that's why we go back a turn. This tank is enough to really last you for around 2 weeks. So you'll notice this needle going down a little bit, but pretty much unless you're running your furnace and turning this thing to a sauna, you're not gonna burn through this whole tank. Of course, we send it off with propane. A full in this case is 3/4. It's a hair below, but it's maybe a difference of like a quarter gallon. So your gas is full, propane's full, tanks are dumped. We ask that you return it that way. If the propane is returned all the way empty, we're going to charge you a $30 fee plus the cost of the propane. Same thing with the gas tank. That'll be $30 on top of whatever it costs to refill the tank if it's not full. Black and holding tanks need to be dumped too. Those we charge $120 if any of those tanks are returned full. We don't like dumping other people's stuff, and we'll show you how to take care of that in a second. Fresh water tank, that is what your water pump pulls from when you're off grid. That is about 35 gallons, and you can return that at whatever level. We won't charge you anything, but it is full right now when we hand it off. So I'm gonna leave this open since we're not driving it right now. Right here, another storage compartment. Don't worry about any of these. More storage. Outdoor sound system. Camping chairs, and also leveling blocks. So these are very important. RV always needs to be fairly level whenever you're turning any of the inside systems on. So your generator, any of your propane stuff. Pretty much, here, let's kind of step back over here. The RV, you need to eyeball it and it needs to look level. There's a couple level gauges on the inside, but the main thing is making sure it's not tilting way one direction or the other. If it is, your propane stuff is gonna have faults, your generator is not gonna run smoothly. And so the fix for that is these leveling blocks right here. You can mix and match, you can stack them. Pretty much, say the RV was leaning back like this, and this corner was way down a hill. What you would do is you would put leveling blocks right behind the rear tires on both the dualies, and then you would drive it back up, and that would give you just the level you need. And you can of course stack these higher or lower depending on your slope, but it's always good right when you get to your campsites to make sure that's done. And as I said before, most campsites are going to be fairly level, so you'll really only need to do this when you're going way off grid. That is closed. Don't go up the ladder. If any damage is causing the roof, which is easy to do, you're probably out your whole security deposit. Very easy to put a foot all the way through one of those vents or ceilings. Right here is all your sewer dumping stuff. So, very important, what you're gonna wanna do. Your sewer dump spot, that's gonna be at your campsite if your full service is. Even the campsites where it's electric only, they'll usually have a main dump. So, you pop this into the hole in the ground. A lot of gas stations in Montana have sewer dumps too. The Maverick, 1 minute away from our shop, right by I-90, also has a free dump station. So pretty much both these valves need to be closed all the way. Gray is for the sinks and the showers. Black is for the toilet. So if either of those valves are pulled out when you twist this off, you're gonna have a nasty surprise. So go ahead and twist it off now that we're sure both of these are closed. Somebody had quite the grip. And a little water is normal because we blast this out before the booking. You then go and twist, secure that on. Now you can pull this black valve all the way out. You're gonna hear everything run through there, and then once that everything's run through, then your black tank is gonna be fully dumped. The gray tank, that is again for your showers and sinks. After the black tank is flushed, you're then gonna pull out the gray. That is gonna blast through, get everything down into the sewer underground. After you do that, you then have the option of doing the black tank flush, which is a very nice feature to have. Not all of them have it. Let me shut off the generator real quick so I'm not yelling.
All right.
This is the black tank flush valve. So you can use the hose we include, screw it onto there. From most dump stations have a faucet, and also your campsite, if it's full services, is going to have water. You can screw the hose into there. This is a one-way valve, so there's nothing coming back into your freshwater hose, so it's totally sanitary to use. We're resuming where we left off, and both those valves are open. We pressurize water into here, it's gonna turn a little nozzle in the black tank that is gonna flush everything out. Let it run for about 2 to 3 minutes just to make sure your tank is all the way clean and emptied. Then you can turn off the hose, put that back in. Coming back here, now that our tank, our imaginary tank, since I didn't do all this, is completely flush, we can close both of these valves, twist this off, and then just always good practice, blast this out with a hose. Even though the fresh water comes through there, that'll just make sure that everything is clean and you're not gonna have these smells when you're putting it back in. So we'll tuck that in there. Never mess with these because that will drain your entire freshwater tank. Right here, this is all 360. This is all labeled, so it's pretty self-explanatory. But in all situations besides filling, you're gonna have it at normal pump. So 3 and 5. If you do have city connection, so an active water faucet at your campsite, you can switch it to city fixtures. So you'll twist this up to 2 and you'll put this to 6. That city connection is right by your flush valve. So you're gonna connect your freshwater hose to the city water connection, and that is always gonna be providing fresh water to the RV. You don't have to turn on the pump. You don't have to worry about the tank capacity that pump pulls from, and you'll pretty much have unlimited water. And so when you're filling the tank, the first thing you're gonna wanna do is city tank fill. So that's when you have high pressure, 1 and 6, through that city connection is gonna fill your whole freshwater tank. So again, that's what you're using when you're going off grid, when you're using the water pump. That is the 35-gallon tank. If it seems to be filling really slow, which you can tell by the control panel on the inside of the RV, there's a button that says fresh, and it'll show you the level. That is going to fill that tank. If you have low water pressure, you can try country fill, which will essentially just remove some pressure restrictions and let that tank fill faster with lower pressure water. Again, after all fills or all using city, switch it back to normal pump, just so you have water pressure and everything behaving like it's supposed to. Okay, I'm just going to twist this back on, tighten that down, close that up. This is your gas. Just regular 87 octane is fine. If you're in Utah, you can use 85, but 87 is preferable. 55-gallon tank, so this will get you about 500 or so miles of range. A lot of people have the misconception that RVs need to be filled up all the time. This is a huge tank. For most trips, people only need to fill up once or twice. Again, your city water connection we went through. This freshwater hose has a pressure regulator connected. Always keep this on. This is to protect the system. Fishing Bridge in Yellowstone has really high water pressure, as well as some others, so this makes sure you don't damage your plumbing at all. Also, you have adapters right here. This is for your electrical, so this is separate from the water, of course. Your electrical box is right here. So you can pull this whole cable out. This is 30 amp service. So this is what almost all RV sites are going to have. This can power your microwave and all your AC units at the same time. So when you plug this in to your campsite, let's imagine we have an electrical box right here. It's going to be a matching outlet for this 30 amp. Make sure the breaker's off. There's going to be a breaker right above your outlet. If it's on and anything in the RV is left on, you're going to have a giant arc from here to your outlet. So as long as the breaker's off, you're good to plug in. And always, just as I said before, the generator, good practice, whenever you're connecting or disconnecting your power, whether it's by this cord or whether it's by the generator, it's good to have everything off, AC off, microwave off, nothing plugged in. So we'll plug it in to our outlets, and now we'll have power to everything. You don't have to worry about batteries, you don't have to worry about any capacity, and while you're at the campsites, you'll be good. Make sure not to drive away with this plugged in. It's easy to forget, so what I always recommend is a once-over walk around the whole RV. Make sure there's no branches, make sure this cord is unplugged, your water hose is unplugged, make sure your leveling blocks are secured and out from under the wheels, and make sure, of course, your propane valve is turned off. So that's kind of the once over I do, and that'll prevent you from having any problems. You also have adapters for an emergency. This is a normal 15 amp household outlet. This is only to be used if somehow you drained all your batteries, you can't charge them back up the normal ways, and it's like rainy or overcast, so the solar is not working. This can connect to a normal household outlet, and it'll charge the batteries back up. If you run the AC units, it's going to trip the breaker though, so keep that in mind. This is if you accidentally book a 50 amp site. This is a 50 amp down to a 30 amp, so that will let you get power even with a bigger receptacle. So I'm going to tuck all these back in here. Get us ready to go. This is just another storage compartment for you. Okay, that is everything with the RV. We are not available outside of normal business hours, so 9 to 5, Monday through Saturday, you will not be able to reach us. Of course, there's roadside assistance included with your booking, and there's full insurance. So they have all the resources for towing, mobile mechanic, if you drain your batteries, if you pop a tire, all that information will be included with your booking. Pretty much, we are available to answer any questions you may have during the normal business days, but the most important thing is to pay attention when we do our handoff, to download this video if you can, and to study this video before your trip. That will get you straight over the hump and the learning curve that most people have, and that'll make your trip far more enjoyable for the first couple nights. And so pretty much between this, between our handoff, between the first time renter guide on the website, you have everything you need to succeed on your trip. And I look forward to hosting you. Montana and Yellowstone's a beautiful place. Thank you.